Hello everybody, my name's James and welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 4 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team, and it's live. FPL Team is your best one-stop shop for all your future planning, particularly important when so many of you are on wildcards. Have a little look at future weeks at what you may be preparing transfer wise. Over the next 57 minutes or so, I'll be answering as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible. Questions will be answered in order of submission. Repeat/similar questions may very well be skipped, particularly if I get annoyed with the same player getting mentioned over and over again. Let me briefly take you through the graphics because many of your questions may be answered on screen. Firstly, my team top right, rolling the transfer: Raya, Porro, Trent, Robertson, Saka, Palmer, Jota, Rodgers. Captain: Ollie Watkins, Munez, Isak. On the bench: Fabianski, Bumo, Nedeljkovic and Fass. I expect to get killed this week, to tell you the truth, but I will continue to try and play it my way. On the left of the screen, you'll see my correct score predictions for all 10 games this weekend. You'll also see my preference for captaincy. Haaland over Salah over De Bruyne. That's the top three. Haaland will play, guys. I'm fairly certain of this. I'm not even going to cover questions on it. I'm sure someone will tell us before 11 o'clock as well, one way or the other. He trained yesterday, as far as I can see. He's in photos. I'd be extremely surprised if he doesn't play. And if he doesn't play, then guess what? That's what your vice captaincy is for. My advice would be stick the captaincy on him. Bottom right hand corner, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams. That will continue to rotate. At the very bottom of the screen, you'll see all the current flags in FPL and each team's next 5 fixtures. And right below me is the benching dilemma screen. Pages 1 to 4 are outfield players. They run in order. Page 5 is goalkeepers. The player with the tick from the 2 options is the preferred option to start. I think that's it. Right, let's get into the questions. JP says, hi mate, best Emil Smith-Rowe replacement, already got Rodgers. I'd probably just leave that be, mate. I mean, if you don't know where you want to go, just leave it. Minter, an obvious option with the next 2 fixtures. Jacob Ramsey, a real alternative, but I don't know if you want to end up with 2 enabling Villa assets at around about that price. I would have no problem with just playing Smith-Rowe this week against West Ham, mate. John says, good luck this week, James. Start Madueke or Rodgers. I wouldn't want to be benching Madueke at the moment, the capability of what it could be. And start Porro or Chance Quansah. Thanks, smash the like, people. Yeah, the problem with chancing Quansah is it could be that Kanate starts and they're getting themselves in a comfortable position and they go, oh yeah, Milan Tuesday. Let's give Quansah 20 minutes here. Yeah, that's the danger. So, no, I'd be going with Pedro, mate. Russell Baker says, anyone have a backup wildcard 4 team just in case? Lol. What do you mean a backup wildcard 4 team? Oh, in case Haaland's ruled out. I mean, that would be carnage. I did say this to Sudra on our Patreon pod yesterday. Imagine what it would do to wildcard teams if he's ruled out. Because I think with Arsenal and Newcastle, the next 2, arguably you go against on wildcard. And completely get those who have will just go, no, I'm going to leave it be this week. Completely get that. But for wildcarders, I think you go without. Even if it meant you left 7 million in the bank ready to just put him back in game week 7, you just went, right, yeah, sod it. I'm going Watkins instead and I'm going to leave the money. I think that's probably the better thing for people to do, actually, rather than spend all the money. Russell Baker says, anyone, Billy Taylor, says, hey Jimbo, on wildcard 6, transfers all done for this week, but what's a 1 week midfield punt you like for next week to replace Saka? So just one for next week. Ben Brereton Diaz might be one. Sammy Schmodix, they play each other. Southampton against Ipswich, that's Clash of Correspondence this week on Thursday. I think it's still probably a Liverpool player if you don't have 3, so Diaz or Jota. Leon Bailey might even be back next week. It appears probably not at the moment. Karim Mitoma, but then I think if you're doing that, you want to go now. No, that's why a lot of people are wildcarding now or wildcarding in game week 6 because the fixtures next week, not so easy on the eye. Perhaps a Kulusevski or a Maddison, maybe even for a 1 week punt. Joe Finley Bader says, morning James, final decision on wildcard is Madueke or Kudos. Thanks and good luck for tomorrow. Thank you, pal. Good luck to the Orns this weekend. Madueke or Kudos? I think I would close that. I think I'd chance Madueke, personally. Arabia Felix Gamer says, and catch a differential. Yes, quite possibly. I think he may start today, but I also think he may start in a slightly deeper role. But yeah, that could be one. If he starts and scores this weekend, that's going to catch people's attention very, very quickly. MJ says, hey James, already used my free transfer, Saka to Salah. Thoughts on Gabriel to Robertson -4 with an eye to save next week and wildcard game week 6. My defenders are Pedro, Robinson, Gabriel, Munoz. Currently benching Munoz. So you want to say -4? Why wouldn't you just play Daniel Munoz at home to Leicester? Even more reason to say no on the -4. I don't like -4s for defenders unless you're buying Trent, basically. And I'm not even sure that would... For the -4 to be worthwhile over the 2 weeks, what do you need here? You basically need Robertson to return twice and Gabriel to blank twice. And you're benching Munoz. Just play Munoz, man. Kenneth Vad says, considering taking off either Emil Smith-Rowe or Amad Diallo for Mitoma or Eze, wildcard game week 6, who would you take off and bring in? Well, Diallo didn't start the last game for Manchester United, and I don't think it will start this one, so I think that's fairly straightforward. In terms of Mitoma or Eze, depends, right? So if you're wildcarding game week 6, which you have said that you're doing, it's a case for a small preference, Mitoma over Eze. Anything longer term, I'd be looking at Eze personally. Harry Scott says, hi James, I have 2 free transfers and Armstrong is in my 11 and no bench, 1.4 million. Would you do one of Armstrong to Pedro or Ugochukwu to Minter, or Armstrong to a 4.5 and Ugochukwu to Eze, or just roll? Yeah, I probably wouldn't box myself into the 4.5 million forward at this stage. But yes, I probably would be moving on Armstrong. I don't think he's a certain starter for Southampton today, so I'd be moving that on. I don't think he's any more likely to start than João Pedro. Let me sell it that way to you. JP says, Eze or Gordon for the next 4-6 game weeks? Eze, mate. Craig Keb, says 12.5 million for a mid and strike. Already have Rodgers, Eze, Bumo, Pedro, thinking Nketiah and Mitoma. Yeah, I mean, Craig, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know in terms of punting and catcher there, right? It's not a given that he's a starter. You'll know the score already, mate. But yeah, I don't mind that at all, buddy. The other way round of doing that is, I guess, yeah, it probably João Pedro and Eze. If that's the other way around, you've already got Eze, you've already got Pedro. Yeah, it's going to be that way round, isn't it? And it's probably fairly clear for you, mate. Who's next? Jay Higgs says, morning James, what do you think to bring in Duran in instead of Pedro for a bit of fun? And with Watkins, Mins questions, upcoming Champions League games, already have Mitoma in place as Brighton cover. This is like a think ahead, right? So let's say you go Duran, right? He comes on as sub, he gets 20 minutes today, he blanks. And then he plays Tuesday in the Champions League, he gets extended minutes there. And then what do you think going into Wolves? It's just not worth it, mate. It's one of them, like if Watkins gets injured, boom, steam in, mate. Probably, but I can't be recommending a player to you I don't think starts, and I'm pretty sure Watkins starts today. Uros Milicevic says, hello James, what to do with Muniz? Muniz to João Pedro is appealing, but is Muniz a must sell? Clearly not, mate, because I'm sticking with him for this week. So I don't like that he's sitting in my team, but I don't think there's enough of a case to make the transfer for me personally. When I don't have a wild card in 6. If you're a wild card in 6, get it. Yeah, I'll do it probably. But for me, under my circumstance, no. So on the face of your question, I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to say stick. Yusuf says, start Muniz or Rodgers. It'd still be Muniz for me. Vivek Gore says, hi James, sell Hall for Dunk or Dean. Thanks. All I'll say on Luca Dean is, and I was surprised I didn't get many questions on him yesterday. I'm not surprised that I've got some now. I don't think Luca Dean will start today and Tuesday. So they're playing young boys at 5:45 on Tuesday. I think Ian Maatson will start one of the games. Now, I don't know which one. And actually, I've got Luca Dean in my predicted lineup this week. But there's the risk. So I would be going Lewis Dunk. Reece M says, hi James, what would be your defensive line will be if on wildcard with no free transfer rolled? Thanks and good luck this week. That was an easy one to read. What would my defence be if I was on wild card? Do you know what? I'll probably tell you if you bear with me a second. Let's have a look at a few things I did for my patrons earlier this week. Defensive line for me this week, I would probably be Trent, Porro, Lewis, Torres, Fass. There you go. If I was on wildcard, I think that would be my back 5 this week. Reese M, I've done. JP, who should I put my vice captain on out of Diaz, Jota, Trent? He's retracted the statement because he knows that the captaincy metric's going to be there. However, consider which one of them is a certain starter, mate. I think you'll find Trent is top of that list. Zaris says Saka and Isak for my Salah and João Pedro. Sound like my son then. He says, I went for my school. I will have Muniz as well in my squad. Greetings from sunny Greece, you are in FPL. God, I hope you teach us one day under Acropolis. One day, Zaris. Thank you always for your support, mate. Saka and Isak, Salah and Pedro. It's the sort of move that's going to be really popular this week, mate. And I get it. I'm not going to tell anyone no. Particularly, again, if you are wildcard in Game Week 6, definitely get that. I think the influence is, in terms of whether to do it or not, is if Salah's going to become your captain in Game Week 5, it really adds to the prospect of wanting to get that done, and I completely understand that. So I think, yeah, it's a get it done in all probability. My camera now feel wonky today. Sorry, or it's just me being just permanently wonky, maybe. Tiffany, FPL Firefly, says 1.4 million in the bank, wildcard at 6, 1 free transfer, have Salah and Jota. Which moves? Saliba to Trent, Gordon to Diaz, Gordon to Eze, Emil Smith-Rowe to Eze, or just roll? Thanks. No, I'd be attacking something this week, Tiffany, with the view of probably rolling next week, then wildcard 6. Saliba to Trent, Gordon, Diaz. So Trent, Diaz, Eze, and what are we getting rid of? Saliba, Gordon again. I think Gordon's still okay over the next 2. I think it's probably the Saliba to Trent. That's the one you'll least want to look at next week, I'm going to guess, is Saliba. So I think Trent, Tiffany. Billy Taylor says, by the way, a new Clayton and James show intro will be hitting your inboxes shortly. Oh, yes, Billy. Following your disparaging comments on the last one, watch this space. Billy, he needs it badly, mate. Eros Milicevic saying, lazy FPL, stay in, Haaland starts. Imagine my shock. Oh my God, the drama is over. We can all rest easy now that we know that Haaland will start. I'm just going to check that the source is correct there. So yeah, Lazy FPL tweeted exactly 10 o'clock that Haaland starts. Their accuracy is about 98-99%. So I would take that as gospel, and I would have been of the opinion 98-99% he started anyway. Same as any other week, basically. Stephen P says, hi James, would you take Garnacho on wildcard 4? No, I probably wouldn't, but I'd have something in there that was acting as a placeholder to potentially attack him. So I'd still want someone around about that value or slightly above. So chances I'd probably more go like Bumo and Eze at the moment if on wildcard, with the plan of one of them going to Garnacho around about the period of sort of Game Week 8. So probably no. I don't mind it though. I've said this many times. On my FDR, it's a long period, but if you looked over the next 10, Manchester United are top on my FDR over the next 10, and it's not close either. Now there's some difficulty to navigate before that a little bit, you know, Tottenham 6, Villa 7 and stuff, but over the 10 it's good. He'll be in the team now, he'll stay in the team. I've said several times over, I think he'll end up having a really good season. I think at some point this season he'll become a template pick. I don't mind it. Vivek Gore says, still hold Mikolenko for the fixtures or sell in general. If you're still there, Vivek, unless you're having to play it this week, it's a stick, mate. Jay Barker says, morning, James. I think he'll end up on a lot of wildcards in Game Week 6, actually. Jay Barker says, morning, James. I'm wildcarding and keeping Bruno Fernandes. Do I need help? No. Great fixture this week. Also, last choice comes down to Porro or Dallo, plus the extra 0.5 in the bank. Thoughts? Thanks, top man. Go Pedro, mate. Yeah. Look, all you got to know with Porro, if you go there, never expect a clean sheet in any fixture. Don't care if it's Ipswich at home. Don't expect it in any. Just think of him as a 5.5 offensive player, and anything that comes defensively is a bonus. Curry says, do you see Jorginho Ruta getting a run anytime soon in this packed Brighton team? Could be a long time investment for a draft league. Yes, possibly. That obviously depends, I think, on the fitness of Welbeck and João Pedro quite a lot, because that's obviously the favourite at the moment. I would presume Ruta will start against Wolves in the Carabao Cup in midweek, and I'm sure he'll be integrated in more and more. So yes, it probably requires Welbeck getting injured at some stage, possibly, but let's be honest, that'll probably happen. There's also competition there with the likes of Evan Ferguson as well. But there'll be minutes. It's probably, in terms of draft, you're thinking ahead, it could be great. I do think, though, that by the time that it might be, Brighton run into really tough fixtures. So how long are we looking here? Are we looking up to Christmas? Probably no. Are we looking a whole season? Maybe, but difficult to predict. Daniel Evans says KDB and Madueke out for Eze and Diaz. No, I would not be selling Kevin De Bruyne this week, would be my take. This man is owed for his 1-pointer in Gameweek 3. I would not be taking KDB out this week. Zaris says, is Jota a must not have? He stuck to my team and I don't know what to do. Guys, like and subscribe here. We have to win. And Andy for once. We're going to get more views than Andy, mate. He's the king of YouTube for a reason. But yeah, there's probably about 15% of you have smashed a like. It doesn't cost anything, guys. It'd be truly appreciated if you just hit that up thumb. Is he a must not have? No, not so. He's very nearly my captain this week, mate. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't start this weekend. But it is a possibility he doesn't, with obviously Milan away on Tuesday night. No, I think he was on the periphery of the Manchester United game, where a lot, obviously, in terms of the chances, fell to Diaz and Salah, and even a bit to Dominic Szoboszlai as well. But that's just one game, and I think it can flip. Was very excited what I saw from Jota in the first two. Felt like I could have had more points than what I got. Really did. Two big chances missed. One well blocked, created by Trent in those first two games. So maybe you pay some of that back for me today. So in terms of must not have, no, sitting on Jota, mate. I'd let that be for the next 2 weeks. And then if you don't like it in game week 6, it's going to be fairly easy to go and buy Bumo, I would imagine. JP says, how do you think Nketiah will affect Palace and Eze? Will it improve or decrease any assets in a particular way, in your opinion? Good question. How do I foresee it? Well, at the moment, I think I foresee Nketiah playing a deeper role. There's no guarantee that he starts automatically today, but I think from that deeper role, he'll act like an arriver a lot. I think what I saw of Palace in the Brentford game on opening day, and hearing how much Kamada was involved in pre-season, he just felt like once Eze was back in, it all went through him. And Rory had warned in the last pre-season friendly that's what happened. So I just think, look, that's an improvement to their attacking line. That bottom line can only help in a similar way to what I've said about, obviously, Dominic Solanke and Tottenham, right? Like, oh, what impact does he have on... Well, he makes all the others better because he'll draw people, right? He's a good centre forward. And Nketiah's a good player. So I think it only helps, really, Eze. It's difficult to say at this moment whether it helps Mateta or not. But on Eze, I can't see it making Eze any worse. Not at all. Gaz MC says, hi James, hope you're good, mate. Bench one of Smith Rowe, Rodgers or Bumo. And it's Bumo with the fixtures this week. Listen, on pens, talisman, you know the capability. Could he score? City always concede a dodgy odd one. But no, I don't think with the fixture, you bench Bumo. If he goes off, he goes off, mate. You'll be pleased that he's already in your squad. Reese Rudd says, hi James, hope you're well. Eze in for Bailey and Pedro in for Fraser from -4. Fuck's Fraser. Benching Wood this week. Oh, he's Wolves forward, isn't he? I think. Benching Wood this week, so had to get another attacker. Yeah, on the face of it, as -4s go, it's pretty fine, Reese. Russell, thanks for tagging in your reply. I really appreciate that, mate. Daniel Rafferty says, if you had to pick one for the next two, would you pick Isak or Pedro? For the next two? I mean, Pedro with the 2 home games. Yeah, I would go for it, mate. P. Macca, hello, and we're live. Hello, mate. Cheers, Cap. Thanks, mate. Yes, it is. It is. Thank you, sir. It is. Thank you, sir. Captain doing his the Lord's work in the background on my stream. Good man. Uros Milicevic says, what to do with Anthony Gordon? There are cheaper midfielders offering better value. Yes, there are. Is he in must-sell territory? No. Would I be very tempted to move Gordon to Eze this week, as many others have already suggested? Yes. Yes, I would. But if that's your biggest problem at the moment, you're doing okay. You're doing okay. Sub Hadip, sorry if I mispronounced that, mate, says, is Bowen a pick on wildcard 4? Look, strong differential. As covered on Thursday's COTC, I think West Ham assets will largely get ignored because at points like this, it's like, oh, Bowen versus Eze. You go Eze. You get the 6. Bowen versus Bumo. Bumo. So he'll largely get ignored. So that's a brilliant differential who will be consistent and can return in even the toughest fixtures as we've seen historically. So if you really fancy it, I don't mind it. My take is I would prefer to have Eze, as just said, and Bumo in a couple of weeks, and many others will come to the same conclusion. If you can fit in the two, I like it. Matt Lacking says, Watkins or Palmer on wildcard? For me, Watkins. That's really tough because I think Palmer's already playing well this season. I don't think there's any concern on his injury. I don't know why he's still flagged, to tell you the truth. He'll play tonight. He's also not been selected for the Conference League squad, so that's not a problem in forthcoming weeks, although they wouldn't play in Europe this week anyway. But attacking Watkins with the next two, what it certainly does allow is if you are unhappy at the end of Everton at home, Wolves at home, or Ipswich away in 6, there are lots of places to move to. Also think he'll act as a really nice placeholder for Havertz. You may think, well, Palmer will act as a nice placeholder for Saka. Yeah, but when you get to 6, you ain't going to want to sell Cole Palmer. I think many of us on Palmer would probably be thinking about maybe moving him away in game week 8 and flipping him to something for a little while. Watkins could hold longer as well, maybe. So slight preference of Watkins. It's very difficult, right? There's a difference of 1.5 million. What's the impact of that? What are you setting to potentially transfer in future weeks? What other coverage do you have of certain teams? If you're sitting there with like Rodgers and Ramsey, hypothetically, then you're going heavy Villa offensive. Do you want Watkins? It's not straightforward as an answer. On the face of it, slight preference for Watkins. Steve Grenwell said, I have Haaland, Salah and Saka. I have a route to Trent by dropping Hall from -4. Am I greedy? No, be greedy, mate. I would want Trent in my team. And it's the sort of one, I don't like -4s for defenders, but if you're going to do it, Trent's the sort of one to do it for. If you stick with Hall, have you got to start him this week? What's your alternative to play instead of him? Yeah, if you can go Hall to Trent, consider it. But there's another move in there, like, what's that? Rich Darley says, I see you have Nedeljkovic. Is he set to play? Don't think. No, I've got Bogard in the predicted Villa team. So it was something I chanced on wildcard last week. It's not worked out. So I've picked him above Wout Faes on the bench just purely on, I find it very difficult to see Leicester keep. I feel it's more likely that Nedeljkovic plays this week and returns than Faes returns. So that's just why I've done that in terms of the bench order. There's no reason for me to think any of Porro, Robertson or Trent aren't going to play, and Bumo's first sub, so it doesn't particularly matter from that perspective, I don't imagine. JP says, do you think Jota will play the Firmino role now? If so, who should we sell to and what game week? That's just Jota for the next 2, like nice and chill. Let's not be comparing with Firmino roles, right? It's a different manager. Sayers says, who would you vice captain out of Jota, Saka, Trent? Will captain Haaland? Probably Saka is the one out of the 3 that is 100% certainty to start, isn't it? It's fine. There'll probably be goals in the derby tomorrow. It's what you want. But in any case, it doesn't matter because Haaland's going to play, mate. Gazman says, good morning, James. Would you start Estupinan or Robinson? Good luck this week, mate. I'd still be Robinson. There's every chance that's a substitute appearance for Estupinan. Alex MJ87, would you play Nedeljkovic over Robinson? No. As just said, I think... I have to assume at the moment that Bogard's ahead of him. There was nothing from Unai Emery's press conference yesterday that give us anything to suggest that might flip back. Vladimir Antonievich says Gordon to Minta or Isak to Pedro to get Salah. I'm a big fan of Alexander Isak's prospects. Gordon to Minter, but that's a coin flip. James Brennan says, hi James, Bumo to Eze this week if plan is to move Salah down back to Bumo in 7 to facilitate Haaland back. Otherwise would keep Bumo until 7 and get Garnacho for Salah in 7. Cheers, mate. It's very long-winded, James. What's the question here? Bumo to Eze if plan is to move Salah back down. Yeah, fine. Okay, you're attacking the fixture, fine. Woosh says, Mitoma or Minta, I'd pay the extra if you can. Paul Macalundi says, morning James, Saka and Bruno out to Salah, Mitoma for free. Again, if you're intending to captain Salah 5 as part of that, I get it. Owen Jones says, James, Harwood Bellis is no more. Went Van Heck, 0.7% ownership. Let's go. As I have no issues with my team, my question to you is, aren't you worried about Ollie Watkins' minutes? I'd go Isak Trent in your spot. Good luck. Am I worried? What am I worried about? I'm worried about Arsenal tomorrow, mate. That let me put it like this. I often sell things like this in the sense it's like, what would I regret more? And I'm looking at it, I go, if I take an alternative to Watkins and Watkins bangs, what's my regret level? Massive. Because my instinct was always going to be that I'd arrive here and captain Watkins or Jota. Massively not helped by the fact that both of the two teams play away in the Champions League on Tuesday. So, do I think Watkins gets 90 minutes today? Nope. I don't. I think it's probably in the 70-minute mark. But the regret I would have with the Jared Branthwaite news that he's unavailable for Everton, generally that's enough to push me. It's enough to push me. So I don't tend to play with the fear. It's more like, what would I regret? Do I regret if I go for him and he comes off after 65 minutes, he's blanked, and I go, 65 minutes against what might be the worst defence in the league at the moment till Branthwaite comes back. Okay, didn't work out. I don't tend to do the worry. I'm sitting here with no Haaland and no Salah, mate. You think my biggest worry is captaincy this week? Let's crack on. Play it your way and all that shit, right? Let's have a look on our Slack, see if there's anything from our patrons in terms of potential team news. Who's tagging me? It's appreciated. I don't know who tagged me from my patrons, but I'm appreciative of it. Thank you. I got a notification that was just about Haaland. Patrons, if we have got anything, obviously on Manchester United or any of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, drop us a line on Slack and we'll obviously share it with the community here. Let's see who's next. Brunton says, no dilemmas this week. Thanks for the best FPL stream going, James. Thank you, mate. Have a good weekend. Good luck. Emmanuel Topo says, you talked me into not upgrading Gordon to Salah. Sorry. Haaland still might be enough. Thanks for giving me the courage. At worst case, I won't do worse than James. Exactly. You won't do worse than me. Freak says, hey James, bench Doku or Smith Rowe? You're not benching Doku with that fixture. He's a player I moan about, and I don't dislike him as a player. I just dislike him as a fancy asset. If he's sitting there in my team, he's playing, mate. Uros Milicevic says, start Bumo as Solanke. Back Dom. I'm pretty confident that he'll play. We can't be sure on obviously what his fitness levels are like. It's obviously a tough fixture for Solanke. The fixtures historically had goals in it. I think it probably will again tomorrow. So I'll be starting Dom. To be honest, if you're at this point and you've still got him and you're debating starting him, you've got to ask why he's still there. J. Lord Broski says, morning James, hope all is well and you beat the Gooners tomorrow, going Wolves games, so we'll only be able to watch half, but hope you smash them. You know what I hope tomorrow? I hope I don't see any of Wolves on Newcastle tomorrow. I hope I'm asking someone for help to tell me what happens, because there's an inevitable result if that's the case. I'm partying. Colin Johnson says, morning James, on wildcard, Robinson or Konsa and Emil Smith-Rowe or Minter. Robinson or Konsa, Smith-Rowe or Minter. Minter over Smith-Rowe for me. I'd just be attacking the next 2, but I'd be looking to arguably move that on in 6. What's the angst with the Fulham assets, by the way? I've got that angst about Muniz as well. It does seem to be a lot of, come on, 2 home games and then Forest away. Like, it's all right. Robinson or Konsa? Possibly depends on who else you're going with a little bit, maybe. If it were me, I'd be going Konsa at this moment. JP says, love you, mate. Thanks for the help. I love you too, mate. Mark Penta says, Jota to Eze and Cap. Not my preference, but he's on the top 10. I think you find Jota's above him, though. The Atmos has used free transfers to get Salah and forward for Saka and Isak or roll. Look, my team's on screen. Saka and Isak are still sitting in it. Admittedly, it'd be -4 for me to do that sort of move. Again, if you can move towards Salah for free, and if your intention would be to captain him in game week 5, I cannot give you a reason not to do that. Fighter Jets is morning, James. Porro or Robinson? Good luck today. Back my boy, mate. Go with Pedro. Listen, if you can't love him at his worst, don't love him at his best, mate. Emmanuel Topo says, there's a 1 week punt before wildcard 6. Does Haaland to Watkins and Smith Rowe to Salah in game week 5? Yes, I have the money. Yeah, sure. If that's going to really influence your captaincy. You still be a brave man to do it this time next week. See how you feel after his next hat-trick today, mate. Gareth Davis says, hi, James. Yes, I've got that. Dunk and Jackson or Lewis and Solanke. I don't think you go Solanke if you're on wild card at the moment. Personally, I don't think so. I think it's the Jackson route at the moment, and you can obviously move Jackson to Solanke if you deem you want to, sort of in game week 8, maybe might even be a good time to do that. Lawrence says, hey James, Saka or KDB on wild card for the next 2 game weeks and start on Ketcher or Rodgers this week. I mean, if it's next 2, you're going KDB, aren't you? Surely. Start and Ketcher or Rodgers. Oof. I mean, if you've gone in Ketcher, he's got to play, hasn't he? It's the doubt about obviously wherever he's going to start, isn't it? And I get that. Now, if Nketiah was sitting in my team, excuse me, I'd be throwing the dice at starting him. Gaurav Rajan says, hi James, Son to Minter and Jota to Salah for a hit. As I have Trent, Jota and Diaz. Wildcard 6. No, I mean, I'm trying to look at my team here. I think, would I have gone, a similar sort of move here to go like Saka to Minter and Jota to Salah? Would I do that myself? No. So I'm not going to advise for you to do it. FPL Gold says Konsa or Powell. Well, after Unai Emery's comments yesterday, I think just still Ezri Konsa personally. Thank you, Colin. Yep, got it. Kasim says, why are there so many price falls but barely any rises? Aha! Ye of mass wildcarders affecting price changes. Almost Seko says, hi Jay, Ari, your Odegaard chat with Clates. Is there enough now to do Watkins to João Pedro, Saka to Salah -4? You wildcard in 6. But by the time I've read through them players, mate, I'm never going to remember it. So, look, again, I could do that sort of move, right? Watkins to João Pedro, Saka to Salah. I'm not doing it, mate. So, if I'd sat here and told you to do it, people, what are you doing? I'm not doing it, mate. So I'm going to say to you, don't do it. Tom Sleeman says, did you see the embargoed quotes from Unai Emery last night? Yes. He hasn't ruled Bailey out of the Everton game. I'm starting with him with Smith Rowe as my first sub. I think it's perfectly reasonable, Tom. I think you'll still end up with Emil Smith Rowe in your team either way, mate. I don't think Leon Bailey will be available based on the prognosis we had. Yes, he hasn't ruled him out, but also there's a big game on Tuesday as well. I think there's every chance that's a Bailey 1-pointer, even if he is available. Good luck. Owen Jones says, like the stream, guys. James deserves your appreciation. Thank you, mate. It's hugely appreciated. What we on in terms of the likes from the crowd? 20%ish or so. You're right there, wife.
Sorry.
What's the matter?
I want to get the washing basket.
But you've already bought Luis Diaz into your FPL team. So what do you want from me?
The washing basket.
Okay, good luck. Cheers.
Sorry.
That's okay. Love you lots. 11 Iron Ross Kenny says, hi James, trying to pick a defence. Robinson is in. Then it's between Saliba, Burn, Porro. Which 2 would you pick, please, to start this week? I said this yesterday on my stream. I'd arguably just go with the players from the North London derby. Porro, offensive, any game. Saliba, threat from set plays, and Tottenham have a problem defending them. What's Burn at Wolves? It's 2 points, isn't it? I'd probably chase the upside of the other 2, mate. Emmanuel Topo says, is wildcard 8 better than wildcard 6? Well, probably not, but Emmanuel, mate, I can't see your team. So what's right for you isn't necessarily what's right for others, and that's why people wildcard in different weeks, mate. Vladimir says, Gordon to Minter or Isak to Pedro to get Salah? It's probably the Minter move. Roshan says, hello, sir. Thoughts on Pinnock on wildcard 4 Have Robertson, Trent and Dunk for the next 2 weeks. Martinez keeper. Yeah, I mean, he's forward thinking. It's a bit like the Verbruggen and Flecken rotation, isn't it? I don't have a problem if you want to pair a Brighton and a Brentford defender. It's going to last you a while. The two fucking dullard picks, mate. But yeah, it's fine. CJ Stuck07 says, on wildcard this week, can't decide between Lewis Dunk or Leif Davis. Leif Davis is a really interesting one. I'm interested in the impact on him if Jack Clark gets in the team, which we haven't seen yet. Because Jack Clark is someone who really can kind of hug the line in terms of a la Grealish, so that adds a little bit of an impact on him in terms of open play. The assist that Davis returned against for Delap against Fulham could have been anyone, right? It's a pass on the halfway line. Obviously still going to be on a lot of the set plays, but it's possible that it's not as many as it was last season, for example. I'm not sure I'd want to go to Davis at this moment in time. But I also get with Dunk, it's like it's great for the next two. And then, you know, as per Roshan previously, Pinnock, that rotates really nice. He does, frankly. So it depends what you want. Are we short term here? Are we long term? Can you stomach to just have Dunk as a substitute for many weeks coming up? It's always really difficult to advise on things like that on wildcard, because I don't know how long you're looking for, right? What's your plan? Are you selling in 6? You want to keep him really long term? You're obviously going to want to bench him, I think, for a number of weeks between sort of game week 6 and game week 12. But yeah, I probably from the two, just right in front of my face now, it'd probably be Dunk. Tebow says, hi James, I would like to hear your thoughts on the David Pleat departure and him being informed that it's data driven, and if Spurs will survive without Bentancur should the 6-12 match ban be upheld. If Bentancur gets that sort of ban, it's what he deserves. I'll accept the punishment, whatever it is. And yeah, we'll survive. Basuma's there. I would imagine if Basuma was unavailable, then Archie Gray would play the position. I think he's possibly not ready for it yet. In terms of that 6 role, but will we survive? Yeah, we'll survive, mate. We'll be okay. On David Pleat's departure, that you've heard one side of a story, and there's always 2 sides of the story, and you won't hear the other side of the story. So he's been told that they don't want him anymore because it's more data driven. Well, if that's what the club's decided, that's what the club's decided, and the club has fucked up so many transfers over the last 10 years or so, right? So maybe they do need to data drive a little bit more. That said, David Pleat's got a wonderful eye, really experienced, really good knowledge of the Football League. I know he's recommended a number of players to Tottenham over the years from the EFL that Tottenham have overlooked and could have used that and would potentially still be useful. But I don't know what his salary is. I don't know how much they're using him. Okay, they've said they don't want to use him anymore. Okay. That's it. I don't have huge thoughts on it. Tottenham have completely restructured their behind-the-scenes team over the last 15 months or so. So they're moving in a different direction. It's fine. Gareth Ranjan says, hit for Kadioglu for the next 2 before wildcard, or play Nedeljkovic or Hall for third defensive spot. Good luck. You ain't taking a hit for Kadioglu when we can't even be certain he's starting, mate. Dragon Yossiowski says, finalising wildcard, Minter and Jackson or Mitoma and Dominic Calvert-Lewin would likely use the 0.6 in the second option to upgrade a 4.0 goalkeeper to Verbruggen and rotate with Fleck and Cheers. The option that doesn't involve an Everton player is my answer, mate. FPL here, Fishy. I'm struggling to understand why Isak's being sold unless it's to fund a move to Salah. Next 2 fixtures are more than okay. Yeah, but also the next 2 fixtures are okay, but João Pedro and Danny Welbeck's are better, aren't they? There you go. That answers your own point, mate. Callum says, funding Saka to Salah for free by downgrading Saliba. Will go Lewis unless he get noises he doesn't start today. If he doesn't, would you go Dan Burn or Konsa? Rotation with Robinson better for Burn. Is it? Can't say I'd look too much at that. Robinson Burn rotation. Oh, is it? I'm looking as far as game week 13. Tottenham away, Palace away. Meh. Everton away 9 for Robinson. Yeah, okay. Everton away for Burns 7. Villa and Brighton at home respectively 8. I mean, if you've looked into the rotation, you're quite happy with that. Fine. I think Dan Burns a very, very dull pick personally at this stage. But yeah, if you like the rotation, you go that way, mate. It sounds like you've done more research on it than I have, so you crack on if you're going down Burn, mate. Joe Banks says, hi James, would you play Lewis Hall or Mikalenko this week? God. I mean, it's Lewis Hall if he starts, right? And I am predicting him to start, but I like a prediction rather than what's necessarily going to happen. Fuck, man. So shit, innit? I'd sell Lewis Hall, but not for a hit. That's my answer. Oh, God. I'd play Hall and just hope that he starts. James Morgan says, you predict the Spurs win against Gunners. Delulu. Or Delulu. Yeah. It's the first time we've ever done it. It's probably the only time that I'll ever do it. So if people think, oh my God, look at this bias Spurs. I've never done one of these streams before, as far as I'm aware, and back Tottenham to beat Arsenal, even when Arsenal were proper shit. When Arteta first took over, even then I think I probably went with draws. So I'm really impressed with what I've seen from Tottenham in the first two games. I think the loss of Rice and Odegaard together is big. The news yesterday that it looks like Solanke's going to be available on top of Mickey van der Ven. Yeah, I think we should be targeting victory tomorrow. And I think if we play to our potential, then yeah, I think there's every chance that we will. And again, I'd rather not just fence it. If I truly think something, that's what will go on the predictions, right? So yeah, it may be delusional. I'm sure it'll probably bite me on the arse, but I think if I'm sitting here and I think Tottenham win, and I don't share that opinion, then I'm bullshitting you lot, right? And that's what I think. I do think we'll win tomorrow. James says, hi James, hi Dylan. Right, Dylan, how you doing, mate? All right, Dylan. Bench one from Eze, Madueke, Jota, Son, Minter, Haaland, Isak, and João Pedro. From that lot, fuck me, Dave. Kind of a bullshit team is this. Looks very strong, mate. I'd go Son to Bumo and have Bumo ready for the next few weeks and then bench Bumo this week. From that lot, probably Minter, mate. Jeez. Liam Doyle, would I start Onana or Muniz? Onana is going to be like this year's Etienne Capoue, isn't he? Like game week 7 and he scored 4 times and we're all like, hang on a minute, Rodgers is on 12 points. What have we done here? Be playing Muniz, mate. Like, very straightforward. And you don't need capital letters, pal. Wispy Snatch says, hello, big man. Big love as always. Flip Bumo to Eze for 2 game weeks, then back. If you think you've got the luxury, yes. Is it worth it, though, for the 2 weeks? Remember, Bumo plays Dr. Tottenham next week. Just game -4 for Saka to Salah, Jota to Eze. Have Kwanzaa, so can't go straight to Salah. I don't love that. I don't love that, to be honest. Again, yeah, it's possibly for captaincy next week, because I get it. I don't love that. Jonathan says, morning, mate. Currently planning to wildcard game week 6. I have 1 free transfer. Saka out for the next 2 and wildcarding back in. Best 2-week punt at his value or below. If you don't have a Liverpool contingent of 3, I think you start there. And I actually would still say Jota, personally. Then Diaz, and I think then Eze. Don't spend for the sake. That, I think, is probably what's best over the next couple. Oops, a daisy. Let's have a check, see if we've got anything from our patrons on team news. Not forthcoming as far as I can see. Just having a little check with a few messages. No. No. Nothing at the moment, kids. If there's any news going around, I'll share it. Shout out Uros, Ryan Quinn, I hope you're well, pal. Vladimir says, by the way, if you haven't got your questioning, guys, it's very unlikely I'm going to get to you at this stage. Vladimir says, Gordon to Minter, Isak to Pedro to get something. I feel like I've done this. I'm just going to move on. JK Guna says, hi, James. Looking forward to the weekend. Robertson or VVD? Robertson for me. James Morgan, I hope you're right, though. Don't know what we're talking about, but yeah, I'm right. So, Adrian Bregatam says, good morning, James. I hope you're well. Should I play Rayo Areola in goal? Thank you. Probably be same returns for both. That's a lot for 2 keepers, buddy. I'm looking at next week. I mean, it's even debatable. You probably do play Areola next week. Arsenal kept clean sheet anytime, mate. Anytime. I think, if you've gone in this direction, I think you probably play Areola. Bruno says, morning, Smith Rowe out, Eze or Matoma in for a hit. I'm not convinced, but kind of per what I said, Eze. To go back to the one I was asking about the 2 fixtures, Mitoma's definitely worth consideration there as well for the person who wanted it for just the 2 fixtures. Jai Donaldson says, hi James, Watkins, Kudos and Dunk, or Havertz, Mitoma, Kilman. The Watkins route. Olympus L83 says, good morning James, which starter to pick from Muniz, Smith Rowe, Muniz? Mo says, hi James, should I start Robinson or Porro? Scouse Lee says, I see you don't have Buonanotte in your predicted lineup for Leicester. Do you think he gets in the starting 11 by game week 6? I need a 5 million mid, already have Emil Smith Rowe, so don't fancy Traore. Any other suggestions? Yeah, look, he didn't start the last one. He's been doing a little bit of individual training over this period to help build up his fitness. There's every chance he will get back in. Yeah, I think when I look at the midfield 3 that played against Villa of Winks, Skippen and Diddy, it's pretty bland. I thought Buonanotte did pretty well against my team in game week 1. So yeah, I think there's every chance he gets back in. You also need to factor things like you've also got Odson Edouard, very different player, who's also going to be competing to try and get in his team in a couple of weeks. And I think a number of us are still quite confused why Steffi Mavadidi's not been starting for Leicester yet this season. So there is competition there. I can't tell you, mate. I can't tell you. Will he be involved? He'll certainly be involved, mate. But there's a case to say if you're looking for that, just go for a 4.5 and use that money somewhere else. Uros would like everyone to like the streams. Very much appreciated, mate. Cheers, buddy. We're into the region of sort of 30% or so of likes now. It's appreciated, guys. Alan Holohan says, morning, Gabriel to Trent or Saka and Havertz to Salah and Pedro, -4. Jeez, you want the Tottenham fan to tell you to sell 2 Arsenal attackers for a -4 ahead of the derby. It's probably not a good idea that I advise to do that. But I can see the base of what you want to do. The answer to that is, Alan, right? What do you want to do with these Arsenal players in game week 6 if you sell them? Like, you know, if you're wildcarding in game week 6, like, I get it completely and bring them straight back. But you just need to check yourself, mate. You're not going to want these Arsenal players you're selling back in game week 6. Like, what's the ramifications? Once you go Pedro, you killed yourself off of Havertz. Or are you going to make the exact same transfers to go back the other way in game week 6? Just consider this. Matthias says, good morning, James. Hope that you're doing well. My wildcard team, Henderson Kepa. I'm not reading your whole wildcard team, mate. Matty, good luck. I can't think of anything worse, mate. By the time I'm reading the names, I've forgotten half of them, pal. FPL here, Fishy says, I'll be posting some info on owning Salah and Haaland last season when I post my seasonal game week comparison on Monday. Quite interesting info. Wise says, hello, everyone. Hello, James. Hello, mate. Justin Gooch says, hi, James. What's your feeling on Kostan Nedeljkovic getting a start? I need to play him or VDV as third defender. Prefer the Villa fixture, but maybe too risky for him to start. Yeah, there's no debate here, mate. Just play VVD. Seriously. Lassie says, start Chelsea defender Colwell over Gabriel. I think Chelsea guys would probably tell you no. If you're asking a Chelsea fan, I think they'd just say no. Blog the Villain says, if we get news that Haaland is out, we haven't got it. No, we're not transferring him out. I don't understand anyone who's even contemplating that, to be honest. Ryan Walker, unless people are on wildcard. Ryan Walker says, hi James, I've got both Foden and Bailey in midfield at the moment. What to do? I own Haaland and no other premiums. Make some bloody transfers, Ryan. It's fairly straightforward, mate. Get some shit done, mate. Get Eze, Mitoma, -4, make your life feel better, something like that. Thomas McLeod says, hi, mate. Which 4.5 goalkeeper is the best long term if I don't want to rotate? Probably Henderson. If you ask me next week, I think the answer will be Flecken. Alex Barrett says, defence is in shambles. Would you start Greaves or Hall? Got Greaves, threat from set plays. Sundini15 says, hi James, who's the bench between Ben White or Robinson? Amazing podcast. That's a closer one. Because I would Saliba and Gabriel has obviously mentioned a set play threat. Mind you, Ben White could end up, he was pulling at Vicario's glove, wasn't he, last year? So he'll be in and around the 6-yard box as well. Yeah, I'm Ben White, mate. Yash says, hey James, top of the day to you. Mitoma versus Minter, Madueke versus Jackson. Pay the extra for Mitoma. And preference for Jackson at this stage. Not a lot of competition in that position. Jody Pegler, hi James, I'm on wildcard. Excuse me, is Robinson or Consa Torres? the better long-term pick. Thanks for the great content. Keep up the good work. I think preferences with the Villa player. Just looking at things like Fulham going to City in 7. Like, I don't know what's your cover for that, right? The Villa one will cover you much longer. Christopher... That's definitely getting clipped. Sorry. Christopher Svaninja. Svaninja. Sorry, mate. James made the rookie mistake. It's a great name, mate. Made the rookie mistake of booking flight tickets before the Man United Everton match was moved to Sunday 1st December. Thing is, mate, I could have told you in pre-season that I'd get moved to a Sunday because of Europa League, mate. Jesus. If anyone's ever got like fixture questions and stuff like, please ask me before you do stuff like that. Do you reckon it is safe to assume it won't be moved to later on the Sunday? Well, their fixtures for that date were announced yesterday, so yeah, that will stick. It's a 1:30 kickoff, isn't it? I think, from memory, pretty sure that's right. Yeah, that will stick. It's not going to move now, mate. Richard Saunders Irvin liked. Thank you, Richard. Everyone else should like. David Isson says, if I've read the bench thing correctly, you're suggesting playing all those people over João Pedro, Pentaker versus Ipswich at home. No, João Pedro's at the top of it, mate. So João Pedro over all the other players. So, no, goes from page 1 to 4 in order. Generally, you go left to right rather than right to left, mate. So, João Pedro over every other player on the bench in Dilemma, mate. And if someone isn't on there, that doesn't mean start them over João Pedro. I've just put João Pedro there because I'm tired of hearing for the last 2 weeks. I mean, is he going to play? Just, if you've got him, just play him, man. Seriously. I can't foresee that anyone would bench him. I put him there just to make a point. Ben Thomas says, Garnacho or Smith Rowe? That's an interesting one. I think Garnacho if you've got. Yvette says, for free, sell Aina for an Aston Villa defender or wait until next week for more flexibility in transfers. I mean, if you're intending to attack Villa, do it now. Adam says, on Rutter playing Wolves, pretty sure he's cup tied. Oh, okay. Could affect Pedro's minutes today. I mean, look, there's a potential impact to his minutes today anyway. Just by virtue of the fixture. You know, they could be comfortable. 3-0 up, comes off. He's already killed him. Maybe he's already got a hat-trick. Who knows? But I wasn't aware of that on Router, so thanks for that information. Mustafa Gaming says, hi, James. Start Bumo or buy Eze for Madueke or keep Madueke. Madueke's fine. Pretty certain he'll start today. Jacko says, would you do Hall to Trent for a hit? Would mean benching Livramento. Wow, double Newcastle defence. Hit for Trent over Livramento effective. Look, if you intend to get to Trent, if that's part of your plan, I need Trent for the next 2. If it's like, I just need Trent for the next 2 and I'm going to sell him. No. If your intention is to move your squad towards having Trent for the longer term, yeah, get it done. AAA says, what do you think about Garnacho in for Bailey for wildcard 6? I think it's 2 weeks away, mate. And yeah, great, fine. Oh, you are wildcard 6. Sorry, I probably misunderstood the question. Yeah, fine, mate. Reasonable if that's who you fancy. Etnic says, hi, James. Hope you're well. What do you think I should do with Gusto? Have Nedeljkovic fast on bench and playing Saliba, Trent. 0.3 in the bank. Ideally, a chance Nedeljkovic and have 3 free transfers next game with thoughts. Get Gusto sold, mate. We can get obsessed with like building transfers for the sake of building transfers. You've got a problem there. He's got a hamstring injury. We know that he's out of this weekend. There's every chance he'll be out next weekend as well. Get that sold, mate. Move it on. Move it on. Patrick Lawson says, hi, James. Been busy, so only my first question this season. Who to get in to replace Kamada? Have Rodgers and then with Smith Rowe up to 6.8 million. Cheers. So that's short of Eze, isn't it? Mitoma. Vidas says, start 1, Muniz or Rodgers. Muniz. Neil says, thoughts on Hall starting. I've got him in my predicted lineup, but there is a rumour going round. Thanks for tagging me on that, James B. ESPN reporting that Amad Diallo looks like he's starting for Manchester United. I wouldn't be surprised for those panicking on like a Garnacho. I wouldn't be surprised if that's for Xerxes though, if that's correct. So that source is. Thanks for sharing the source on that, James. It's really helpful. So ESPN saying that they believe, it's not confirmed, they believe that Amad Diallo is going to start for Manchester United. So this 30 minutes ago, I'm just looking at from Rob Dawson. is at ESPN. He's got 215,000 followers on Twitter. Says expecting Ahmad to start for Manchester United against Southampton today. Deserves it. Not much competition, but he's one of United's better players this season. So that don't sound like he's telling me he's going to start. I'd be quite cautious of that. Yeah, I don't know. That don't sound like a confirmation to me. So I'd be cautious. I appreciate James B, but I'd be very cautious of that info. Someone go and respond to JTREMMM on Twitter and tell him James is doing a deadline stream. He's not responding at the moment. Cup of tea. So, James, I hope you and family are well. Bench one from Armstrong, Pedro Porro, or Gabriel. God. Gabriel. Jeez. Amos Salem says, all right, mate. Who'd have benched Gabriel? Burn. Martin Case says, morning, James. Best Brentford defender to hold for upcoming weeks. The only safe one, I think, to go to, really, at this moment is Pinnock. Neil says, thoughts on holding wildcards to Gameweek 12 if you can get free Arsenal as well as Haaland, Salah, Eze, Boomo. Gameweek 12. Okay. That's interesting. Because in Gameweek 13, Liverpool play Man City. Chelsea go to Aston Villa. Arsenal go to West Ham. Newcastle go to Crystal Palace. Okay, Gameweek 12 looks good. What about Gameweek 13, mate? I'm generally of the opinion that I think Gameweeks 9 to 13 largely are a complete dead space for wildcarding. Gameweek 12 we'd identified in pre-season as possibly, if people wanted to free hit in the first half of the season, as being the week. And I don't recommend it, by the way, but if people wanted to use their free hit earlier, then arguably that week. So I'd have a second look at Gameweek 13 there, mate. You're going to wildcard, and then you got Liverpool, Man City afterwards, and then the two teams come into good runs afterwards. Yeah, I'd maybe hold off one more, mate. Lamichi says, hi James, on wildcard, is Watkins over Visser worth thinning all of the bench? Yeah, because in Game Week 6 you can go Watkins to Visser and then unthin that bench. So yeah, if I was on wildcard, Watkins would be going in, I think. Right, that's 11 o'clock, guys. That is deadline struck. Apologies to those whose questions I didn't get to. Hopefully the majority of stuff that I covered will have helped you, or the graphics on screen may well have helped you. If you came just for the FPL, James, please answer my question. Smash a like, hit the sub button. See you same time next week, unless you want the additional content. For those who've got no FPL, no FPL questions, please. Anyone got non-FPL questions, throw them in the chat. Happy to cover them off for around about 15 minutes or so. Well, I wait for those to come in. Let's tell you about upcoming content. So Monday, Game Review Pod. Tuesday, People's Poll Podcast. Topics to be determined. Wednesday, Clayton James Show. Thursday, Clash of Correspondence, Southampton versus Ipswich with Matt Samuel and Paul Gore-Allen. Ask James Friday. Deadline stream next Saturday. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. Podcast this week from Intermediate Plus tier, Q&A Monday, UCL Fantasy Final Drafts Tuesday, Wednesday Tottenham Arse, me and Clayton reacting to tomorrow's North London derby. I don't suppose we'll both be happy. It's like 3-3 and both of them just glad it's over. Thursday Money in Football, Friday the Game Week 5 preview podcast. Advanced tier content will include Team News stream next Friday, midweek FPL dilemmas, Nico's Corner, and away days of my trip to Coventry City on Wednesday evening. If you want to support the show, do it because you appreciate the content we provide and because you want us to carry on to do shit like this, the free content. Generally, I mean this and I say this all the time, without the patrons, the deadline streams and the rest of Planet FPL no longer exists. So if you're going to support the show, it'd be hugely appreciated. Do it because you want to support what we do or because you want the additional content. I'm not an FPL expert. I do not promise to make anyone better at FPL. The community may help though. Otherwise, smash a like, see you Monday. If you want to hang around for the non-FPL stuff, let's see what questions we've got coming in. Let's see what we've got. Atul says, recently retired footballer you loved and miss watching. David Silva for me. It's a great shout. I'm drawn to think of Tottenham players, right? So, I mean, so recently retired and say Gareth Bale I can put in there, can't I? David Silva, wonderful footballer. Yep. It's a good shout. Robbie Tomlin says, all-time Spurs 11, James. It's difficult, right? Because I only go back to 90. So I'd be relying on stuff beforehand. So I'd be relying on the information from others. So let's go something like, what would my dad say? Okay, let's try Jennings in goal, Stevie Perryman right back, Cyril Knowles left back, centre back, Ledley King. My dad's just like, what? No, I don't care, Dad. Sod it. We'll put Dave Mackay there. I know Dave could have played further forward, but we'll put him there so we can have, like, in midfield, we can have, like, Gascoigne and Hoddle. We'll go Jones and Bale, Kane and Greaves. There you go. There's one for you. In terms of my era, from when I've been going, Hugo Lloris in goal, Cole Walker, Danny Rose, Toby Alderweireld, Ledley King. You could make a case to go Jan left back over Danny Rose. Midfield, really easy. Dembele, Modric, Gascoigne. We'll go Bale on the right, Harry up front. And I think, to be honest, with the amount of goals he's scored now over the last 9 years, I'd Sonny on the left. Ahead of David Ginola, I think, for what he's achieved over the 9 years. I think Sonny goes in now. Who's next? Swiss Wave is that Eden Hazard recently retired for. I would say he's recently retired. Retired as soon as he went to Real Madrid, right? When was that? Long time ago. The Atlas says, thanks for the content, James. Your prediction for every English team in Europe. Look, in terms of projections for what the bookies would have, they'd have City as winners, Arsenal semi-final, Liverpool quarter-final, Villa last 16, Manchester United and Tottenham Europa League final, Chelsea Conference League winners. That's what the bookies would have it at the moment. It won't be that. I think my team's got a really good chance in Europe this year, in Europa League, and Chelsea really should be winning the Conference League. I think Arsenal will do very well again in the Champions League. The Liverpool's quite difficult to measure at the moment. I think Villa, subject to draws, could be like a quarter-finalist. Why not? There'll be some atmosphere at Villa Park. Despite the ticket prices, there will be good atmospheres at Villa Park. It'll mean a huge amount to the people there. And I've seen teams cave when Villa Park can be loud. So subject to draws, I don't know if it's beyond reason that Villa could aim for a quarter-final, for example. I think last 16 would be reasonable, though, for Villa. Sorry, not last 16. Yes, last 16 is correct now, isn't it? Because you've got the 8 through, then there's the playoffs. So, yeah, if they win the playoff and then last 16, yeah, I think top 8 finish through the league would be very, very tough for them. United and Tottenham should really both be finishing in the top 8 in Europa League. Chelsea should be finishing first in their Conference League thing. Should be pretty much taking sort of circa 16 points from their 6 games. So, yeah, the English clubs will do better. Pretty confident of that. I think I would be, if you said to me now that one of the extra places wouldn't go to the Premier League this year, I'd be surprised. I think 5th will be enough for Champions League this year. And I think it might even be quite comfortable this year. We've had periods like this where it seems like, you know, they all do bad together. And I think in terms of quality of the English teams, it probably was overall an underperformance last year in Europe. I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think 5th will probably be enough for Champions League. Kevin Maher says, James, as a fellow Spurs fan, what away games are you not going to? I won't be going to Manchester United in a couple of weeks because my wife's going to Portugal for a long weekend with some friends. So despite my dad saying, your mum will have Harry. I was like, no, I'm not going 200 miles away for a whole day. So I won't be going to Manchester United. Of the European trips, I won't be going to Ferencváros. I would say Galatasaray is very unlikely, and so too is Hoffenheim. But at the moment, the intention is to go to as many as I can. I mean, to be honest, if my missus wasn't going away, I'd be going to Old Trafford as well. I'll be at Coventry on Wednesday. I'll be at Brighton in game week 7. Already looking at trains for Manchester City in game week 12, I think that is. Palace, I'll go because it's not on the telly. Fucking shithole place that is, Crystal Palace. Not the place itself, the stadium. Fucking hell, mate. So yeah, the majority. It won't be all, but the majority. I'm in a blessed position where I choose when I work. I think everyone could probably you work enough, James. Yeah, it's fine. To go. I mean, I'll definitely be at Ibrox for the Europa League game. Let's try and stop me. There might be a day with no content there. Even I'm not missing that. So I'll get to the majority, and that's the plan. I'm in a blessed position. Also, I'm not a piss taker, so my social life now is Tottenham. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to Manchester tomorrow. Oh, I'm going out Friday night as well. Like, it's not happening. It's just Tottenham. So that's how I get away with it. Niz Gio Arsenal, like Gio Van Bronckhorst. Man, it's a long time ago, mate. Greatest maths debater. Hi, James. I've been known. Hi, James. Whose fan base is the saltiest in the Premier League? I reckon it could be Spurs. Saltiest. Oh God, I know who I want to say, and I'm reluctant to say it. Saltiest. I mean, it's Arsenal, really, isn't it? But you can't criticise Liverpool. I mean, everybody knows that. Don't criticise Liverpool. So one of them two. I think saltiest. Yeah, it's still Arsenal. I'm influenced by what I see and hear, aren't I? Russell Baker, I don't know what you're looking at, mate, because that's certainly not the number I'm looking at in terms of likes. So I can't believe there's only 4 likes. I'm looking at just under 300. If someone wants to push that past 300, I'd be very grateful. Ragav says, hi James, hope you and family are doing well. Do you think Spurs have to win the North London derby with Arsenal? Have to win? Of course not, mate. Playing a brilliant opponent. They're one of the best teams in the world, Arsenal. I don't think that's disputable at the moment. As I just said, the bookies would have them projected to be in the final 4 of the Champions League. So they are. Do we have to win it? No. What are we going to do afterwards if we don't win, mate? We'll cut our wrists and stuff, and life will go on, isn't it? Can't look at the opponent and that go win, must win. Also, it's game 4. Yeah, if it's game week 37 and we're clinging on for 5th place for Champions League, and Arsenal got these injuries, does it become must win? Well, yeah, maybe it does fall into that category. Game week 4, no, mate. Yeah, do we want to? Yeah, but what do you think is going to happen if we don't win, mate? It's just life goes on, isn't it? Hunter Type says, James, thoughts on having... I'm sure Arsenal are still favourites with the bookies, by the way. Hunter Type says, James, thoughts on having 2 referees per game, more officials off the pitch than on, 2 pairs of eyes better than 1. Just a very obvious reason to say, no, don't do this, mate. Who decides? When there's a foul on the halfway line, whose decision, mate? 1 whistles, 1 don't, 1 agrees, 1 don't agree. No, it doesn't work, I'm afraid, mate. And generally, the fitness of referees is largely pretty good, right? You could even have a situation. I know you say, people play that 70-yard ball over the top, and then Salah's like a speedster, and he's 1-on-1, and referee's miles behind, and can't see if the referee's batting the halfway line. Listen, where do you think a referee's going to stand if he's in the other half, mate? He's still going to struggle to catch up with it. No, I just don't think it works, mate. Thomas Powell says, hey James, if the following managers were shops, what would they be? Klopp, Ange, Russell, Martin, Moyes. Shops, fuck. Jurgen Klopp would be I know the place I want to say and I can't think of the name of it. Why am I having a complete meltdown? It's a burger takeaway. I can't think of the name of it. Big something. I can't think. I can't think of the name of it. Shit. Was it big? It's big. Not Big E. What the? What's it called? What's it called? Do the big ass milkshakes and stuff, and it's way more expensive than it should be, but it is nice. What's it called? Fuck. Oh no, everyone's gonna pop it in the chat. Jurgen Klopp is a brilliant burger takeaway. Right, fine. Let's go with that. Ange. What's Ange? Ange is like Ange is like a bookmaker's. It's like, yeah, what, mate? Not me, mate. So, or Ange would be like a pub, wouldn't he? And Ange would be like a slug and lettuce. There you go, slug and lettuce. Russell Martin. Russell Martin. Shit, what would he be as a shop? Claire's Accessories. And who's the other one? David Moyes. X, like that hardware store you get like resold video games and stuff like that, and electronic goods and all that kind of jazz. Yeah, that's the one, I think. Okay. Let's see if we got that. It's probably a little bit early for the team news, isn't it? Good question, Thomas. Thank you, mate. James Brennan says, hi, James. Who do you think United should go for post Erik ten Hag? Would imagine it would be Ruud van Nistelrooy as interim, but no, you always say a huge personality is needed. Cheers, mate, and have a good weekend. Ange. That's who they should go for. It's Ange. Yeah, the personality is so important in that job. I think Arne Slot's held himself really well so far. Although we haven't seen his reaction to a bad result yet, it's worth saying. United. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy would be a big person. I could see Ruud van Nistelrooy just taking over there, actually, and becoming the manager. I could see that. But Ange, honestly, to answer your question, Tim Lum, what are you having for lunch? I don't know, actually. Not got a clue, mate. Do not know. Let's see if we've got the Southampton Man United team news. Let's have a look. Let's start with United, because I'm sure that's the one that you're probably more interested in. So Amad Diallo does start. Garnacho is a substitute. So that ESPN word was correct. Otherwise, as expected, so Diallo. Oh, Christian Eriksen plays. Instead of Casemiro as a sub, that's going to be the end of Casemiro, I would think. So Christian Eriksen plays. Or is that just travel related? Casemiro go away Brazil? Could be travel related, I guess. 12:30 on the Saturday. Yeah, maybe should have seen that coming. Also, it's going to be a bug for Garnacho later in the season, I think, maybe, if that's how Ten Hag is treating this. I think United might be in trouble today. I mean, I predicted it for a draw anyway. Okay, let's see if Southampton have changed system, as I've been predicting that they might. I think that was probably, I don't want to say an out there prediction, but let's see. They have gone back for Cutler changed it, and it is Harwood Bellis is the one that misses out. Ugochukwu and Fernandez in for Smallbone and Aribo. Tyler Diblin in and Cameron Archer in. No Adam Armstrong in the Southampton lineup. Quite impressed with that from Southampton. Yeah, I did think to go back for, and I have. Interesting. Yeah, everyone had been saying it was clear from the substitutions that had been making in the first three that if they changed, Harwood Bellis was going to be the one that missed out. I felt he is a substitute, as is Aribo. Maxwell Cornet is on the bench, so too is Ryan Fraser. Armstrong is a substitute, so too is Ross Stewart as well. I'm quite intrigued to watch that now. Looking forward to that. Tommy Gonzo says, "What do you make of Birmingham City's recent transfer window? How have we been allowed to spend so much money in League One? You need promotion, mate. I've raised concerns about it. I just think like the Jay Stansfield move. We mentioned it again on Clash of Correspondence with Lewis James this week. I mean, it's really unnecessary. I mean, Fulham can't believe the money they've got for him. Can't believe it. Just completely unnecessary to spend that sort of money. I realise it's like statement stuff. I hope Birmingham will go up because I worry about it if they don't. And I think the owners have come in there and I think they're well intentioned. There's obviously clear money there. I know there's ambitious stuff in terms of like 60,000 seat stadiums. I know who they think that Birmingham are getting 60,000 people in a football ground, no matter how well they're doing. Just calm down. Would be, if I could give them advice, just calm down. Just, it will come naturally. Just do it progressively. Understand where you're at and build it. So I think slow down would be my advice. I'm sure the chances are it'll probably go really well. I mean, let's be honest, with the money spent, it should do. Atul says, first 3 managers to get the sack this season. First 3 to get the sack this season. Ten Hag. It's tough naming others. It says for Ten Hag, by the way. I just said Nuno in pre-season, but Forest have started all right. I think Gary O'Neill could be under threat at all if you've got a tough run of fixtures, if they go badly. Just because then it can become like something, so the one in 18 and shit like that. It can become that sort of thing. And that's a possibility with the fixtures you've got. So I'm going to say that. And I think he's shown signs. I don't think he'll depart. You're asking me to name 3 names. I think it's tough. He's shown signs of real frustration with Wolves' summer window. I think it's fair to say. Yeah, okay, Richard. That's the sort of comment, mate. It just get you muted in these parts, mate. It's not personal, mate. Actually, it is against that person. Ragaf says also, what do you make of Ange's comments around pressure should be there in every game to pump up yourself and not just North London derby? Do you think Ange might get frustrated if Spurs don't increase ambition? I think it's up to Ange to increase that ambition himself in the same way that Maurizio Pochettino did. Pochettino spoke massively after Tottenham finished, in the week before Tottenham finished behind Arsenal the year Leicester won the league. He was at pains to speak in the week and say, look, it's gone. Whether we finish second or third is irrelevant. It's the same prize at the end of it. Like, stop obsessing about Arsenal. And he's right. And that actually changed. It hurt at the time then when Arsenal finished above us on the final day. But it changed the mentality for the good going forward. And I think that's the sort of thing Ange's trying to do now, mate. So, again, look, you make these sort of comments. If Tottenham lose tomorrow, then it's like, oh, you don't care enough about the derby. It's worth saying our results in London derbies last year were not good. And when I say London derbies, there's only 3 I'm talking about. That's Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham. I'm not really bothered about including the others. And there were some bad results including that, right? Got battered at Fulham. So, that could become a narrative. Oh, well, you're not getting them up enough for the London derbies and stuff. If we win, it's not a thing, is it? It's just, okay, cool. And push on to the next one. Georgie Vatsos says, favourite source for tactics, trends, favourite Premier League commentators. I still think Neville and Carragher, I think they're there to be shot at, but I think they're the best in terms of analysing the games, actually. In terms of the pro pundits, if you will. Commentators, I like Peter Drury, but I don't need a poem every time he's fucking reading something. I quite like Rob Hawthorne. I think he's been very consistent for a long time. I used to love Martin Tyler, but I think it got to the point where it was okay, step away from the flagship show and stuff. Source for tactic trends. I wouldn't say there's anything specific. To be honest, like the Tifo guys do some great stuff. Although I think that just comes under the Athletic umbrella now, doesn't it? But I don't have a go-to or anything. I tend to use my own opinion and obviously see stuff, of course, to do, and read things, watch things. But there isn't anyone I'd want to say, oh, give them a shout out. That you should watch them for tactics or anything. No, one of the things I dislike with tactics chats is I feel like, I don't think it's done intentionally, but I think the way tactics are explained quite a lot of the time, and apologies if I've ever made it sound this way, it can come across like a this is right and this is wrong. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, because sometimes you can see that someone's trying something and it backfired. You know, I could use the way Lee Carsley used Rico Lewis in the first half for England on Tuesday night and say, okay, I like that he tried it. I don't think it worked. And that's not a Rico Lewis problem, by the way. And in the second half, it was better. That's my own personal judgment. I'd rather kind of explain it that way, whereas I feel like a lot of the tactics crowd, it just can come off across as, I'm telling you this and I'm right. And I dislike that aspect of just nothing particular against anyone. I don't think it's even intentional. I just think it's how it comes across with tactics quite a lot. And I think in terms of engaging the conversation on it, I don't think it should be like that. All right, I can see I'm going to just keep going forever here. So I can see L1D5TR2 for Andy Gray was the best. Steve says, don't think Casemiro went away. The Hobbs89 says, Russell Martin is pure Pret A. Andy's responding to someone. I'm going backwards here, basically, is what I'm doing. So if you think I've skipped you, don't. I'm going from the bottom upwards now. I'll come back to what I haven't covered yet. Ragav says, hi James, aren't Rangers going to play at Hampden, not Ibrox? As far as I'm aware, it's Ibrox, mate. They're going back to Ibrox next week. So I think the condition on it is, as long as they play their first Europa League game at Ibrox, they can play the rest there. So Rangers are intending to play, I think it's Dundee in the Scottish League Cup next weekend at Ibrox. Russell Baker says, old enough to remember live on Radio 5 on a call-in back in the day. Remember it, James? I've got a question on... what am I remembering here, mate? Radio 5 on a call-in. I'm not sure what you're remembering, mate, but okay. I've got a question on David Plate. Is he still pimping? No, I don't think he is, mate. Mike says, cheers for all time and effort with content. You're very welcome. Pro Evo Stevo says, morning, James. I got the pleasure of meeting Garth Crooks and Gary Mabbott in the old gas showroom in Enfield years ago. Mum worked there. Have you had a random meet with the Spurs boys? Cheers. No, there's a few I've met Cliff Jones a couple of times now recently. Cliff Jones is remarkable. I met Cliff Jones when he was on the Fighting Cock. I went down and watched it with Flav and the Crow. And he doesn't look like he's aged at all. That was about 6 years ago. The man looks as fit as a fiddle. And I mean, he played for Spurs in the 60s. I mean, how old is he, man? He's like 80, 90, he might be approaching 90, 85 or something. He's probably fitter than me. Gary Mabbott, I've crossed paths with a long time ago, I'm pretty sure. Ledley had met briefly. Ledley actually waved at me driving past my house once. That's a true story. After he nearly ran me over. Not true, but I may have kind of stopped in front of his car. Robbie Tomlin says, cheers, man, for answering question. Just earn another patron. Cheers, Robbie. I'm off to sign up right now. Unreal football knowledge. You have the memory is crazy. Appreciate that, Robbie. That means a lot to us, mate. Thank you. And I think that's it, actually. No, if I missed one, I have. Oh, no, I can. Sorry. Hunter type. James, could fans do way better in terms of creating sound and atmosphere? Yes, of course. If it, like when I go abroad, like I went to San Siro in February, right? That's a massive football club, Milan, and the atmosphere would embarrass every English club, embarrass, and that's just, last 16 Champions League against Tottenham, a game never expected to win. Crazy off the charts atmosphere in comparison to the English clubs. Price of tickets not going to help, unfortunately. You're pricing out a lot of the average folk that wants to go and chant and sing. And we have to strike a balance here. I don't know where we'll get it back in the same way. Because a lot of the people who go now and pay their tickets don't want to have the chance. They just want to enjoy it as a spectacle. Football now has become more of an event for many people rather than a tribalism. Oh, I went to a Premier League game. That's great. I'm pleased for you. Mike says, you didn't really answer a question yesterday that made me think about clones. If had to have 11 of one player in a team. Oh, okay. I remember the question now. It was like clone one player. I was like, yeah, well, I'll have two Messis. Who'd be best to clone? I'm going Kane, Rice, or Phil Jagielka. Phil Jagiel for goalkeeper skills. No, it's got to be someone who's technically really good. It's also got to be an athlete. You had 11 Harry Kanes. You've not got enough speed in that team. Similar for Jagielka. Declan Rice is a better shout if you had to have 11 of them. I don't know, man. If you still had 11 prime Messis or 11 prime, to be honest, 11 prime Ronaldos as well, even be great, wouldn't it? I tell you, what I'm going to say Zidane. 11 Zidanes. There you go. I think that's it. I think that's the ones that I'd covered. I'll just cover a couple more at the end. Georgie says, thoughts on the 6-second goalkeeper role not being applied anymore strictly. Shouldn't referees be instructed to punish it? We're trying to increase the playing time. It's like kind of unofficially 10 seconds now, even though it's not written on rules, and yet everyone gets longer than that. FPL Frazzle Glenn Hoddle could play anywhere. Yeah, absolutely could. Swiss Wavy, 11 James Milners could work. Yeah, that's not a terrible shout. 11 Zidanes, mate. Manchester Reds, we're not doing FPL anymore, mate. And I'm going to leave it there. 11 Rooney's has been shouted as well. It's not a terrible shout either. Right, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Hope your arrows are green. Smash a like. Hit the sub button. Support us on Patreon if you can afford to do so and would like to do so. Otherwise, Suj will be back with me for the Game Review podcast on Monday. Deadline stream, same time next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao for now.